Hello and welcome to Everyday Journal number 104, your favorite, most deceptively named bi-weekly legacy podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by our brand new Patreons, Tim Everett and Markus Jülich. Thank you so much for joining our community. Thank you so much for joining the Discord. If you're supporting us and you haven't joined the Discord yet, definitely get in there. There's going to be a link in your Patreon notes on patreon.com. Guys, how's it going? Callum can't make it today. He's on a mission across Britain, from what I've heard. But I'm really happy to have Marius Hausmann back on the cast, one of the most successful grinders on the MKM series, and also, I think one of the people I've known the longest in all of my Magic career. I still remember, like, in 2005 when I showed up to my very first tournament, and there was Marius, like, bossing people around with blue-white land still, and also white stacks and Armageddon stacks and stuff like that. Good to have you on. Good to have Matt back. Matt, how's the stabbing in the face going? How's Canada?
Everything's good. I was part of the COVID vaccination rollout, and so far that's gone pretty well. I did a lot of stabbing. That was fun. And as the tide turns, I'm hoping that there will be more in-person Legacy that I can actually shuffle my cards. They're getting a little dust.
I'm excited to hear. It must have been like a while since you've touched Legacy cards in the flesh, right?
I mean, I touch them all the time. I just look at them, I stare at them, I drool on them. That's why I double sleeve them.
Too much information.
But to be honest, the last time I played in a paper Legacy tournament would have been February 2020. So yeah, it's been a little while.
Oh, awesome, man. And Marius, how's it going for you? Have you been playing any like local Legacy or like, just with friends lately?
Oh, hi, Julian. Well, first of all, I'm on the other side of stabbing. I got my vaccination 2 months and then 6 weeks later ago, and I'm quite happy to get to stabbing. Since then, we started to play a bit paper, just with friends, because tournaments aren't still allowed here in Bavaria. And yeah, so we are testing Legacy and Modern all around. Yeah, but only with 3, 4, sometimes 5 people.
No COVID Legacy tournaments yet, but I know you've been working a lot on Modern lately, right? You've been working a lot on Modern Enchantress, which is quite a deck in the format.
Oh god,
now.
I was actually going to ask about that, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I bought all the stuff together, and when they announced these Enchantress cards in Modern Horizon 2, it was before they revealed Cities, and I thought, well, if they add a solid 2-mana Enchantress effect, I'll buy into it again, because it was for sure one of the decks I enjoyed most to play some times ago. And then they revealed Cities, and instantly I bought the Enchantress cards in foil old frame, not to bunker them, but just to play them, because I thought, well, if I don't buy them now, then I'll buy them never. And especially Sterling Groove is the old frame, the original old frame card, the only one who has the cool old design, because I don't really like the new Sterling Grooves. And then I thought, well, come on, just buy the Confinements and the Enchantress presents too.
Awesome, man.
And yeah, when my wife asked me how
where
much
does all our money go?
Yeah, something like that.
Pretty spot on, probably.
I just told her, hey, just look, my friend Daniel Schuh bought 6 times more with his money, and I said, okay, then glad.
Look at him, he's the total degenerate.
Yeah, correctly. And it was all okay, especially since the stuff doesn't get cheaper anymore. If I look at Magic Card Market and I see a City of Traitors for 250 euros, it's not really funny.
Lays at 1,000, easy peasy.
That's quite the amount I paid for the whole Enchantress deck, because apart from the basic lands, I had nothing. And even these I had to buy new, because I need snow covers on thin ice.
I feel you, because I'm still I need a few more Summer Forests, and then I should be good to go.
Matt, do you remember when I told you that you should buy Urza Saga when it was like 10 or 11 euros, and then it shot up like the very next day? You should listen to me. I'm the original MTG finance guy.
It's okay. I hope
by the way, you know what I just noticed? it's like 8 in the evening and I just noticed that I've been wearing my t-shirt, how do you call it? Inside out for the entire day. This is
Everybody thought you were
peak home office degeneracy.
Why do you wear a t-shirt?
Oh, there you go.
Wear a t-shirt.
Shirtless. Just shirtless the whole day.
Yeah, we're going to make that a Patreon goal, the shirtless video cast one day.
I think they're going to pay us not to cast at that point.
Yeah, but the heat wave is strong in Europe right now. It's actually absolutely insane. It's so bad that I can barely sleep. Like, this is the first summer where I'm actually like, guys, I wish we had one of those AC things that they have in North America. But yeah, I don't know. At least Magic is a lot of fun right now. I keep playing Elves. I revamped the Elves sideboard like quite extremely. I'm playing a lot of weird cards like Runner Foul, which I guess I'm going to talk about later. And I'm having so much fun. Like, I think I just talked to Marius about this before the cast. I had like a streak of like 5 or 6 4-1s with Elves in a row. And yeah, that's just fun. Like, we're literally grinding out the Delver deck. I mean, that's a thing other decks do, but you wouldn't really expect Elves to do that all the time. But even in the face of sweepers, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Elves towards the end of the cast. But the first thing that we're getting into right now,
just a question, because you are the only Elves player I know at the moment who really grinds. How much does Yavimaya change the Elves deck? Does it make it much more better or just a little bit?
Almost not at all.
Really? Okay.
I was super excited to, protect my Cradle with Cradle Ranger or like replay the Cradle with Cradle Ranger. But after something like, I don't know, how many matches have I played thus far? Like 60, 70, 80, something in that region, maybe. Like not 100, but also definitely more than 50. I have never protected my Cradle or like replayed my Cradle, but what I have done is I've used my fetch lands for green mana. And it was quite relevant, just because of the life, point that I got to save. But like, it had some uses here and there. It also sometimes somewhat helped my opponents, but overall the impact was really small, and I've actually been considering cutting it for something else. The thing is, I've cut down on black in my sideboard quite a lot as well, so I'm not super excited to add like another fetch land again. I also don't feel like I need a third basic, so at this point I'm almost like, hey, should we bring back Pendelhaven? Because if you play a 1/1 on the first turn and they play Ragavan and then you have Pendelhaven, at least, they can't even like trade and play the second Ragavan. They can just like have their first Ragavan die, or they can't, forkboard. Like, I've always been a fan of Pendelhaven, and I'm actually considering bringing that one back. Just, I don't know. We will see. I'm still giving Yavimaya a little more time to shine, because overall, it's a pretty cool card, and it has the potential to be broken, but yeah, it's not feeling broken yet.
Okay, so funny enough, Yavimaya does have a harder impact on the deck like green-white Dark Depths than Elves. Didn't expect that.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually seen him doing really weird stuff, but also like really good stuff in that deck, so I'm excited.
Turn everything into bayous with their board. So that's pretty cool.
If you play both. Yes, of course.
Yeah. I just keep thinking if they ever printed it for islands, it would be the most broken thing ever. Like, literally you go ahead.
Merfolk comes back, island walk for life, just get you.
Yeah, or, you just go ahead, you just play 4 Carpet of Flowers in any deck. And
I'm not a too big fan of these intentional reprints. I got really a hate on Wizards when they revealed Ignoble Hierarch.
Come on.
It's so cute.
I saw that.
So cute.
I was hoping it was going to be junk colors, and I was like, we're back, baby. But, John, I'll take it, I guess.
And speaking of 1-drops, we actually have an impromptu section that I didn't expect to be in the podcast, but we got so many answers for that on our Twitter @EternalMTG that I wanted to make an entire short section. Because we sent out a call for what are the most hilarious situations that actually came up in games you played involving Ragavan, the new one-drop for red. That's actually why I'm even explaining the card. Like, anybody listening to the cast probably knows that this card is super busted. So, yeah, a lot of people got back to us, and here's the very first one from Max Torsion. And Max, is there something? Okay, sorry, I got a message, but that's nothing. Anyway, so here's the very first one from Max Torsion from minmaxblog.com, and he actually has been playing Ragavan in his Doomsday deck, which I thought was a meme, but actually it's been working out for a lot of people to play Ragavan in combo decks lately. And this is very tame compared to the rest of what we're gonna see here. He made triple black with Ragavan, when his only islands, on his lands were Islands and Volcanic Island. So is Ragavan real in combo decks? I think it is. Like, I've also seen it in Sneak Show and stuff, and like, even if you just like randomly get to steal a couple of cantrips or, get extra mana, it's more real than you would think it is. And I'm actually quite excited to see what else it can do, because that's the fun part of the card, The unfun part is when they play it in Delver and they just like run away with the game. But if they go ahead and they do stuff like this, I'm down.
Okay, so forgive me. When it says you may cast that card, is it you may cast that card without paying its mana cost?
No, you have to pay them.
Okay, good. I was like, hold on a second here.
It's not a Dreadhorde on steroids. So most of the time, if you get the off-color card, you will have to use the treasure to cast it. But that's the inbuilt synergy of this card. And
that's the idea behind it, yeah.
The most ridiculous thing I heard about the card was really when I heard that JPA, this super successful Sneak and Show player on MTG Online, just added Ragavan in his Sneak and Show deck. That felt quite stupid.
Yeah,
obvious
he's done it.
I just had to make sure.
Other people have also done it. Yeah. A couple of people have actually done that in that deck, and what he did, he used it to cast Griselbrand. And when you think about it, like, you play Ragavan on the first turn, and then, you got your City of Traders or Ancient Tomb or like a Lotus Petal here and there. Like, you get pretty close to just like hard casting Griselbrand on the fourth turn. And once you start to, like, obviously that requires a Forceful from your opponent. And then, like, that's one fewer Forceful than I would have actually had you not played Ragavan. It's, I don't know, that card is hilarious to me. I even considered running it in Elves, but it's really not doing anything for us in Elves, I guess. But moving on, here's the second scenario. This one was submitted by Piss Duggery. And apparently he is playing Black-Red Reanimator. And his opponent, I guess he put a Griselbrand into his own graveyard, and then his opponent actually hit Animate Dead with the Ragavan. It actually reanimated his own Griselbrand.
I don't think you have to pity a Black-Red Reanimate player too much. But situation is, of course, kind of awkward.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Another one. This one was submitted by Alessandro Boschiani. And Alessandro's talking about, my opponent hit Allosaurus Shepherd with Ragavan and cast it. Then later on, he had another Allosaurus Shepherd in play on his side of the board because he was playing Elves. The opponent submerged it back to the top of the library, attacked with Ragavan, cast that one as well, and then further down the game actually activated the ultimate ability of Shepherd for 6 mana and turned both of them into 5/5 dinosaurs.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
This is the kind of madness and chaos I want to see added to Legacy. I'm loving it. Here's another one. This one by Strive for Chase Hansen, also a friend of the podcast, has been on a previous episode.
Hey, Chase.
Hey, man. I only played it in one league, but I did get to cast Chancellor of the Annex off of it, which was pretty cool. Like, what is it with like all these broken combo decks splashing a 2/1 ape? This is hilarious.
Oh, the next one is good. Whoa.
Yeah, the next one was submitted by Oddball MTG, Dennis Kampelmann, and Dennis was just like, he attacked on turn 2 with Ragavan, and can you guess which card he hit? He literally hit Thassa's Oracle. GG Doomsday, get wrecked. Fuck. That one just like stays in exile. Like, even if you don't cast it, just like stays in exile. It's over, man. I mean, it can happen with Tendrils as well, right? This is great. This is absolutely great. Okay, here's another one. XJ Cloud, John Ryan Hamilton. And in his game, it actually came up that I guess he was playing Death in Texas. The opponent not only hit Thalia on a Ragavan, but also played it, which already is kind of questionable, right? Like, even if you're on the Death in Texas side, you're kind of happy if that one doesn't play, because then the Delver deck needs to spend double on most of its cards. But even funnier, XJ actually had the Caracas and bounced the Thalia back to his own hands. It's like, yeah, Ragavan, thank you very much, and I'm gonna bounce you as well.
I'm not too much a fan of Death in Texas anymore, you know that, but just Ragavan might really be a reason for playing a deck with 3 characters at the moment.
Yeah, I see Death and Taxes every now and then, like, in the leagues and in the challenges. I mean, part of it is a factor of, like, the deck being rather cheap, like no reserve list cards, even though that's less of a factor online, I would guess. But yeah, it shows up. It's one of those decks that's probably never gonna die, just because it's great magic, great gameplay, and people are willing to take, like, a decrease in win percentage as long as they get to play cool magic. So, I mean, that's part of, like, the identity of Legacy for for a long time now. I mean, people still cast Siege Rhino now and then, Matt, right? Have you heard about that?
I may have heard of a Siege Rhino being cast every now and again.
Okay, and here's the final one. My absolute favorite part of all of these. And this one was submitted by Nobody Knows I'm a Dog. And yeah, so I'm just going to read it out. My opponent the other day managed to get Enchantress Presence and started drawing cards by casting other cards from the top of my library. So the opponent actually,
not bad.
It's like, look at me, I'm the Enchantress deck now. Oh man. I wish you could get more of this kind of effects, but like in a hilarious way. I remember when I had a donation deck list that I streamed that involved, what's the one? Shared Fate, where you and your opponent basically switch libraries. And those also made for some of the most interesting, funniest, but also like strategic games that I ever played. And yeah, that just reminded me of that. Matt, are you gonna sleeve up Ragavan or Marius? Is that the card that you wanna play in Legacy?
For me, that sounds like a miserable experience that I'd want to hate out. So I'm going to say no. And I think the answer is Caltrops. But anyway.
Yeah, for me, it's nearly the same. I'm not interested to play this card for myself. And when I looked at the prices, because I'm always a fan of shiny and extra cards. You know what I mean? It's just too expensive. And I don't know, but I'm quite sure Ragavan will not exist so much time in
not
Legacy
long
and in Modern. No.
Do you mean Ragavan, Ren and 6? They all sound kind of similar to me. I feel like it's going to meet the same fate. Like, I don't see this card staying around. Like, if this card is as busted as we're all seeing that it is, I think this card will be gone.
I mean, just look 20 years ago when Jackal was a card. And you just had
20 years ago.
Super, super good 1-drop who dealt perhaps 4 damage to an opponent, 3 damage to yourself if it got bolted, and it still was good. Now you get 1 mana, 2/1 with insane upside. And for me, Isamaru, Hound of Konda is a good magic card. But it's just not so good to play in any format anymore.
Well, Isamaru actually came back last year. It was like part of the mono-white Lurus deck that people joked about that was actually really good. But yeah, that was like zombie Isamaru coming back from the graveyard, because otherwise it hasn't been good. And like,
yeah, good. Lurus is banned for a good reason in Legacy.
Yeah. The thing is, I think I'm like pretty 50-50 on whether Ragavan will ever be banned in Legacy, but I'm also pretty sure it's definitely not going to happen in the next 6 months, probably not in the next 12 months. It's just, while the card is kinda snowbally, it's not crazy snowbally. Like, I'm almost kinda, like, no, I'm actually okay with the card. It sounds pretty weird, I guess, but I'm kinda okay with the card for as crazy as it is.
The cool thing about Ragavan is, if it stays in the format, perhaps it shifts the format towards more creature-based deck being played. And I like creature-based decks pretty much, because just imagine you have a Talia or even a 3/3 blocking it should be fine.
It's funny you mentioned that, because the next section actually wanted to talk about what the Legacy metagame, at least online, has looked like during the last 14 days. So
exciting.
I mean, availability is still an issue, right? Those cards are not on the cheap side, Modern Horizons, but they are somewhat coming down like they usually do. And Matt, you're saying the metagame looks exciting. What excites you the most about what we're seeing here?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the link that you've posted, which is this MTG Top 8? MTG Goldfish. So, like, I'm seeing Delver, which I totally expect. I see various flavors of Delver, but I'm like, ooh, I'm seeing red-green lands coming up. I'm seeing Nether Reliquary-based decks, whether it be Maverick or some sort of Depth deck or Agrolome. Like, not called Agrolome anymore, but I don't know, very exciting. I'm really interested to see how the Dark Depths decks change with the Yavimaya. So I know we discussed that very briefly before, but I'm going to check out some lists.
Yeah, we're going to check out a list in very next step here. First of all, yeah, you're right? We got, is it Delver currently sitting at something like 8.5%? I guess, yeah. The 0.5 doesn't really matter when you have this small of a sample size, so it's like 23 decks. We also have Hogak, which is a deck we talked about, last week as one of the potential sleeper decks in the format. And Hogak is especially interesting because it has like two different flavors of Hogak going on right now, which we will explore in a minute here. Third most successful deck, Elves at 4%. And you already see like these numbers are rather small. Like I've seen Broken Legacy games, meta games where we had like 20%, 15% for like the top decks. But here we're sitting at like 8, 6, 4. And then like in fourth place, we have like Sneak Show and Spanned Miracles tied. Like at this point, it's not even like worthy to speak about numbers because they're getting so small. But yeah, these are the decks that are doing well right now. The Knight of the Reliquary deck that you saw here, I think that's one of those green-white depth lists, but it's really hard to tell because people are currently like trying various kinds of flavors of depth, Saga,
Oh,
Knight.
totally, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the kind of deck I would see you playing, Matt. I don't know. That's
like I'm looking at this list right here, which is some sort of, green-white. I mean, I'm not sure why you're not playing black, but anyway, I'm seeing Knight of Autumn, Knight of the Reliquary, Crop Rotation, Mox Diamond, three Sylvan Libraries. This is right up my alley. I'm seeing, but Retrofitter Foundry? Interesting, right? 3 Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Like, this is a very interesting list. I'm definitely interested. I see Glacial Chasm in the sideboard. We're definitely playing this deck. This seems...
Yeah, you're actually talking about the deck list that I have in the show notes here. We're also going to link that on the website. This is this is the one that Sharkcaster mage Rodrigo Togoros has been playing online. I think he finished second in one of the most recent Legacy challenges. And yeah, that's just like one of the many decks that have been splashing, or like quote unquote splashing Urza Saga, because literally Urza Saga is everywhere now. The Affinity deck where we originally saw it, which we are still like quite hyped about, is almost entirely gone. It was hated very, very hard. And I'm not sure people really know how to build it yet. And that includes me. Like I can't tell you how to build it, but I think that's one of the reasons why it's not really showing up anymore. It's hated out very efficiently. And it's also like there's too many different builds floating around. So unless somebody comes forward as Mr. or Mrs. Affinity, we probably don't know how good that deck is going to be in the long run. But it's probably like one of those decks, once the hate dies down, people stop playing Meltdown and stuff, it might show up. But for now, I looked at the most recent successful lists. We have literally Urza Saga in Lands, Post, Urza Stompy, Painter, Green-White Dark Depth, and Delver, and it's everywhere. It's amazing. Yeah, and like you mentioned, right, it's also in this deck as just like a one-off, but you can still find it like with your 4 Elfish Reclaimer. You can use your 4 crop rotations to find it. You can use your Ramu Excavator to rebuy it from the graveyard. And yeah, once you've used it, the final mode of the card is gonna be turning into either Mox Diamond or Retrofitter Foundry. And Retrofitter Foundry is like, I'm not excited about the card, but it's probably the best main deckable card for a deck like this. And it's just a game plan all of its own. And on top of that, you're playing your regular game plan, run out the Knight, make the Knight pick, get the 2020 token. If they swords that you're going to draw infinite cards with Sylvan Library. I'm excited for this deck. Marius, do you like this deck?
Oh, I just saw the next level of the deck, just for fun. If you add Quirion Ranger or Script Ranger, you can bounce Urza Saga to gain tokens every turn. With Yavimaya.
Oh, man.
No, the list looks sweet. Retrofitter Foundry, of course, for searching with Urza Saga. I guess it's only as a one-off in the deck because all the other lands are necessary in this list. Plus, with 4 Thespian stage, of course, you can copy the Urza Saga once you've found it.
Oh god, and that is so complicated. We talked about it for like half a day in our Discord the other day to really make sure how Thespian stage and Saga works. And Matt, I guess how do you think it interacts? Because this is quite complicated. What do you think happens when you copy a Saga with Thespian stage? I'm gonna explain it in a minute. I just want
So I will bet, okay, you don't get any lore. Do you not get lore count? How would that work? You know what? I'm not 100% sure. Walk me through it.
Yeah, nobody is. Okay, so for those listening who don't know yet, the way it works is when you copy Urza Saga with Thespian stage, it doesn't matter which level the saga is on right now. It starts from 0. On your very next, I think it triggers on your pre-combat main phase. The Thespian stage, that is a saga now, is gonna get the first ability, which is to tap for colorless mana. On the second turn, or rather, on the second turn from then, it's gonna get the ability to make the tokens, and then on the third turn, it triggers on your upkeep, to sacrifice it and search for something. But, and this is the really messed up part. If you then use the saga to copy another land, you still get to search. So you copied another land now, but you still get to search. This is so unintuitive because usually like cards like this usually have a clause that say, if you do, like standstill. If standstill, like, if you do, then you get to do this. If you sacrifice, then you get to do this. This one doesn't. This one's just like, you sacrifice it as part of the effect and you search. But since it's a different land now, and it's so unintuitive to me, but that's just how it works. So you get to search.
So you get to search and don't have to sacrifice it, or?
And you don't have to sacrifice it. And the best part is the ability sticks around. The ability to make tokens actually sticks around. So let's say you copied a basic forest now. That basic forest till the end of the game will be able to tap and make a construct token.
Okay, wouldn't have assumed that ever.
Nobody knows how that works. It's so crazy unless you.
And now, Julian, just a question. Assuming you have a Thespian stage and you copied the Urza Saga, afterwards you make the Thespian stage to a basic forest, and afterwards the opponent plays a Blood Moon.
Ding, ding, ding.
Does the forest has still the ability, because it's a basic forest, does it still have the ability of the Urza Saga?
Yes.
Really? No. Okay.
So obviously this is the game plan. Now we're running some sort of deck that runs Urza Saga and Blood Moon, right? So we can, we set up so we can make a bunch of tokens, then we slam the Blood Moon, lock our opponents out, and then we create constructs.
Yeah, we would be doing that like 15 years ago in Legacy when you had time to do that, I think.
Julian, just a moment. But Blood Sun still does deny the ability then, because I can read all lands lose all abilities except mana abilities. It counts for basic lands too.
The thing is, I have no idea how it works with Blood Sun because I don't know which layer that one is in. I can actually look that up for the next cast, or maybe somebody in Discord or on Twitter can let us know at EternalMTG. Hey, Julian here, we're editing. So since we at least like to pretend that we have some educational value on this podcast, I actually went and looked up all the corner case scenarios regarding Blood Sun. And I want to share them with you, especially with regards to how it works different from Blood Moon. So, very basic, your Thespian stage copies the saga, gains the first 2 abilities, then copies something else. Now, when Blood Moon comes down, it doesn't matter whether it copied a basic land or a non-basic land. It will actually still keep the ability to produce colorless mana and create constructs. That's because Blood Moon happens in layer 4, and the other 2 abilities are added in layer 6, which happens later. So you will end up with a mountain that still has the ability to produce constructs. Pretty insane, right? So Marius is now talking about Blood Sun, which unlike Blood Moon has the ability that says lands lose all abilities other than, I think, mana abilities. So that actually happens in layer 6. And since both those things, Blood Sun as well as the abilities granted to produce constructs and colorless mana are granted in layer 6, that means it becomes an issue of timestamp. And timestamp means whatever happened later on in the game actually takes precedence. So you end up with whatever you copied minus all the non-mana abilities. So for example, say you copied a fetch land and then the Blood Sun comes down, you end up with a land that only has 1 ability left, and that is to tap for a colorless mana, which it got from the chapter 1 ability. Because the Blood Sun is not taking that one away. The Blood Sun still allows you to tap for a colorless mana. If you copy, say, a Reshaden Port, you can actually tap it for colorless mana. Actually for 2 reasons. First of all, because of the chapter ability, as well as because Port inherently has that ability, but you can't use it to port anyone. So if you want to shut down all of these Thespian stage shenanigans, Blood Sun is even better than Blood Moon. For the reason being that Blood Moon needs to be in play before the Thespian stage has gained the abilities, whereas Blood Sun can come down at any point and it will just like shut down everything really hard. So if you're really into the rules, now you might be wondering, is there any way for the Blood Sun to get an earlier timestamp than the abilities being granted to the land? Which, for practical reasons, it's near impossible. It's never going to come up. Technically, there is, which would be to phase out the Blood Sun, then pull off your shenanigans, then the Blood Sun phases back in. But this is so far out there. Like, not even I would try to do that. Not even Callum would try to do that. And I guess that already says a lot.
Yes, Blood Sun, best card confirmed. All right.
This is going to be like the humility situation, like with Judge, and then you'll sit there and you're like, yes, it actually happens like this, and then I
no, and I volunteered to judge the next paper tournament in Aalen for free. Oh my god.
Oh, you're gonna judge that tournament. Something you should also know is if you have Urza's Saga and your opponent plays a Blood Moon, it's instantly gonna die, because at that point it's gonna turn, while it's gonna turn into a mountain, it's still a Saga, because it's not gonna lose that card type. And that means that it's gonna be a Saga with, a final chapter count of 0, and it has like, it's a chapter count 0. It's super messed up. Basically, remember, it just dies instantly to Blood Moon.
I knew this.
You knew this?
I don't know, who told me, but I knew this.
Awesome. So yeah, one thing I want to point out about this deck, by the way, that I was like quite confused about when I first saw it. It plays a Thran Foundry in the sideboard. And the last time I saw that card is when I bought the World Championship decks in like 2000, like Kai Buddha, Metal Pine and stuff.
Why is that in there?
For those wondering, it's an artifact, one colorless, and you can activate it for colorless, tapping it and exiling it, and target player shuffles their graveyard into their library, basically. And back then, I think it only existed for like decks that try to mill you. Like, I literally don't remember what it was used for 20 years ago. But what people are doing with it now is, this guy, right? People is probably like pushing it. This guy is using it as a target for Urza's Saga to shuffle the Doomsday cards back into the Doomsday deck once that Thassa's Oracle's in play. It's kind of like the same situation as with Endurance, when you shuffle, maybe they have Street Wraith in the graveyard, maybe they have Ideas Unbound in the graveyard, maybe Lines of Diamond and stuff. And with the Thassa's Oracle trigger on the stack, you shuffle those cards back. Thassa does nothing unless you only shuffle back 2, and then you win the game because they can't win the game anymore. I kinda like that.
Yeah, it's a cool take. Obvious. Yeah. But to be honest, personally, I would, no, he has Endurance. I thought, if there would be plays, I would perhaps just go for one Crypt 2 to have faster graveyard hate, but, Endurance is just a better card in this case.
Yeah, there's a trade-off, right? You can have, Relic, but I think Thran Foundry is just like better than Relic, especially with like no Tarmogoyfs and stuff in the format. And Endurance is one for the.
Plus, I don't think you want Relic of Progenitus with Knight of the Reliquary in your own deck.
Yeah,
good point.
Excavator,
yeah. That's a good point as well. I really like this deck just because, like, when you think about it, I would guess it's pretty decent against like these blue-red Delver piles that are going around. Like, one of the centerpiece cards of your deck is Elvish Reclaim at 3/4. Your Knight is usually going to be bigger than their removal spells. And you got a combo that can somewhat be disrupted by Wasteland, but you're not like entirely dependent on the combo. You have Swords of Plowshares, which is good against like the high end, like the Murk-type regions and stuff. I don't know. This is the kind of deck that excites me as well. And I think it should also be like pretty decent against Bond Miracles.
Yeah, I'd be into playing this deck or some variation of this. Any Knight of the Reliquary deck, I'm getting excited.
Matt, this would really be the thing for you. If you ever started paper up again, and you should definitely like get into this. Also, there's like 3 chokes. That's really for you, right? You love choking people.
Oof.
Awesome. So moving on, here's another interesting deck. This one is by Reanimator Fiend, and I think this one got a 5-0 in one of the leagues. And we already talked about how Hogak has a couple of different builds, and like at this point, this is barely Hogak anymore. This is literally Chant Madness. And this is one of the cards that Callum was most excited for during the last couple of casts. This one has Blazing Rootwaller, which is basically a red version of Basking Rootwaller. Like both are the Rootwallers with Madness 0 that you can play. The other cards in the deck, like you play 4 Patchup Imp, and then you play 4 Asylum Visitor. Guys, do you know what Asylum Visitor does?
Nope, looking it
I
up
just have
now.
to look it up.
I'm actually also going to open the deck list because I don't want to.
Oh my god, it's a commander card.
Sounds like a skeleton? Ah, no.
Asylum
Vampire.
Visitor,
Vampire Wizard.
1 and a black. 3/1, creature, vampire wizard. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card, and you lose 1 life. Madness cost, 1 and a black.
And it's a 3-1, right? Matt, if Wizards ever like introduced, I don't know, voiceovers for Arena or something, they're probably going to hire you. What do you think?
Thank you. And I've been told I have a great radio voice.
A soothing voice. So yeah, this is one of the engine cards for this deck, right? So the idea is you get rid of all the stuff that you have, and I guess if the opponent also doesn't have anything, it also triggers on their turn. But that's probably not gonna come up all that much, even though you have Burning Inquiry. So, but that card is kind of cool. It's basically drawing you 2 cards a turn at the cost of having to discard 1. But like with most of your deck, here it's an actual upside, right? You have a ton of Madness cards that are gonna attack with it. So this is the kind of thing you really want to stick to the board and then just ride the advantage.
Yeah, it looks like a really solid aggro deck. Like
It's
really, really fast. Really fast.
Yeah, this is basically the idea, right? All the creatures that you get, they're not exactly exciting, like the Rootwallers. You can pump them to like 3 power, which is kind of nice, but eventually they're going to be outclassed. But here you also get to reload. You have Annie's Ravager, whatever that is supposed to be. But this one is, we've seen that sometimes in red Stompy decks. It's,
Yep, I know it.
3/3
Yes.
Vampire
You can
Berserker.
refill your hand. Draw
Yeah.
if you discard your hand and draw 3 cards if it attacks, and it has to attack every turn.
Yeah, basically. I'm actually gonna just like read that out so people can like understand what it is. So this one, it's a 3/3 Vampire Berserker, 2 colorless and a red. It attacks every combat if able. And when it does, you discard your hand, you draw 3 new cards, and this one also has Madness, a colorless and a red. So together with Asylum Visitor, that's already like another one of the combo cards. Because usually with decks like this, they somewhat suffer from like not having enough enablers, but these are already like 8 pretty solid cards. And then you also have Burning Inquiry, which is probably like the least powerful enabler. But it also, I guess, makes for the crazier starts once you involve Vengevine. Burning Inquiry, by the way, sorcery, a red. Each player draws 3 cards, then discards 3 cards at random.
Wouldn't be
like
wouldn't be Hollow one good in this deck, or do I miss something?
I guess you could play that. I don't hate it. You would need to cut something though, right? And if you look at the deck,
so
I think
okay. So all the stuff in the deck is just better than Hollow one, so no need for it of this in this case. Yes.
Yeah, I don't really see anything you could really cut for it. There's another new card that was recently printed, Kitchen Imp. It's a 3 colorless and a black 2/2 flying haste imp, but it also has Madness for just 1 black mana. And people have called this card like the Black Diver, right? It has 1 less power, but it's already kind of flipped, and it gets to attack on the very first turn. So it's kind of like a similar Clock to Diver. And this deck, I haven't played against it yet. Of course, it also has Vengevine. I could see it killing like on the 3rd turn quite regularly. Like there's probably like insane draws with like double Vengevine that kill on like the 2nd turn or something. But
I mean, I see Vengevine, and it takes me back to 2010, 2011 survival days when I was playing Bug Landfill and packing Extirpate. Oh my god, those were the times.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about this deck actually is like it's not that susceptible to graveyard hate, right? Like all of your stuff already, it comes from what used to be called the Madness Zone, by the way, which would be a great name for like an underground club or something, the Madness Zone.
Yeah, I know when we tested last time against Hogak deck, I used to play Bound. It was in times when Astrolabe was still legal, and I played in the sideboard Containment Priest as Graveyard Hate, and the card did absolutely nothing. Because my opponent could cast Hogak as well, and there was another card who was 2 casts from the graveyard, so it did not really do anything.
Yeah, this is really gonna punish you if you're gonna rely on that kind of stuff, and if you don't have like a good defense, because all of these cards are just gonna like pass you by, and they're gonna get you pretty fast. I think this could even like kill combo decks rather quickly. Like, what does it have in the sideboard? I guess it has like 2 Mindbreak traps, then 4 ley lines if that's good. I like that it has Sudden Edict. That's the card we talked about as like messing up Grizzlebrand. Like when you pass with a Grizzlebrand to a Sudden Edict. Yeah, you love it. The opponent's gonna hate it.
It just makes me sad because I have these nice Korean Diabolic Edicts. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, I know someone who has exactly the same problem as you.
That's Mr. Shu. He's basically the butt end of all of your jokes.
He bought 2 foil Diabolic Edict. You know these cool old frame Diabolic Edicts?
Yeah, of course.
And then he literally vomited it when they printed Liliana's Triumph. And then Modern Horizons 2 came out.
He vomited on his
and he just said no comment.
Poor guy. Looking at the side, by the way, there's another card that's actually a new one. Bone Shards. Have you seen that before? I think we didn't even talk about it in the spoiler for Modern Horizons 2.
No, I don't remember if you did. I'm looking here now. Bone Shards is a black sorcery for 1 black. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature or discard a card. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. That's not bad.
Yeah, in this deck, it's basically the black Swords to Plowshares at sorcery speed, and you can also hit planeswalkers, which I guess this deck literally doesn't care about.
Now, because I already thought, Bone Shards, I had seen this card. I have seen this card before, but it was Bone Splinters, where you sacrifice a creature and destroy target creature. But with Bone Shards, the opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. That's the difference. Didn't know this before.
You destroy the creature or planeswalker, but I guess that's really gonna be much of a difference.
No, it's both. It's both destroy. It's not sacrifice, sorry. Bone Splinters as an additional cost to play. Bone Splinters sacrifice a creature, destroy target creature. Bone Shards as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature. Or discard a card, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Okay, it's in 2 cases better than Bone Splinters.
Yeah. The discard a card is a big deal, right? Yeah. Because that's an upside for you.
Yeah, and I like to see Ancient Grudge here as well, if you're chucking shit in the bin anyway, like, whoops, flashback. Like, I don't know. This seems like a very interesting area. I would love to see this deck run and just see how lean it is. Like, just see its momentum, right?
It's kind of refreshing to have like a I mean, this deck has not arrived in Legacy as in like, oh yeah, this is part of the metagame right now, right? We've seen this deck now in the hand of Reanimator Fiend, and maybe more people are actually gonna like be packing this because it sounds pretty amazing. And I'm just, Matt, you know what I mean, right? And Marius, you as well. Like we used to have a time where people cast like Wild Nakattles and got in there, like where the aggro deck was not
2011
like, tempo based, but quote unquote fair, as in like, you know, just attack, make creatures, play burn spells. And even though this is like much more degenerate and broken,
that was some good honest magic. You just cast spells and you turn creatures sideways.
If you consider how long the game is now active, it was not too long ago, to be honest.
It was like 10 years ago, like 11.
Really?
Yep, yeah. 10 years ago you could still play Zoo, because I remember when I was training up to go to Providence for the 2011 GP, which actually just happened 10 years ago this month, which makes me feel very old. You know, I was playing against Zoo deck still. Like, Zoo was actually decked. I was playing Black-White Dead Guy Ale with Vampire Nighthawks, and I did quite well against Zoo. So that goes to show you how much the game has changed.
Was that the GP where James Shu almost killed out of you?
Yes, that is the one.
Oh, you sound oddly excited for that.
See, at the time, it was scary, but now looking back, it's a fond memory that I almost died.
Yeah. Because like you drove a car like all the way across Canada or something, all the way to Providence or something.
I think what we should do is, you know what? We'll put that on a separate episode. We'll bring James Sue on, and we'll talk about that trip 10 years later.
the best travel stories. I was actually considering doing something like that, as a filler episode when there's nothing coming up. We can actually talk about our favorite magic ships and stuff. That would be something.
We should do it.
Let us hear about whether you want to know more about that. About how Matt got almost killed. So super excited for this deck. We're going to link it in the show notes. And this is the madness that's going on in Legacy right now. I think a lot of people initially felt rather down on the format when we saw that Blue-Red Delver is doing really, really well. And I mean, it's still a great deck. I also picked it up from card order. I played it for a couple of leagues and I really loved it. But I don't know, it certainly doesn't feel nearly as broken as previous super broken iterations of Delver that we had, that eventually caused bans, like Deathrite Shaman stuff.
Yeah, Deathrite Shaman was for sure on another level.
Rest in peace.
So were these this ancestral card, what was the name? Treasure Cruise.
Treasure Cruise. Yeah, of course. That's way more broken than anything we're seeing right now. So I'm excited, and I'm also happy to see that people are doing well with these kind of crazy brews. But in speaking of crazy brews, I wanted to make our next segment about what's going on in Delver. But as I took a deep dive into what people are doing to Delver, I discovered an even crazier deck that's that's going on. Just talking about Delver, I think we can quickly talk about that. Something I noticed is that they started playing Dismember. And since
interesting,
I was like, I have no idea why you're doing this. You can just play. I mean, some do splash white for Swords to Plowshares, right? If you want that kind of effect. But turns out the main reason is they don't want to splash an extra color while still having something that kills endurance. At least that's my reading of the situation, because anything else you play in blue or red is not really going to be a permanent solution against endurance. So you're willing to give up those 4 points of life to just kill the endurance.
Okay, that's interesting.
Which decks have the consistent double green mana to run endurance in main deck apart from Maverick?
Well, you don't need double green, right? Or is it? I don't even remember.
It depends if you're if you're talking about hard casting it versus evoking it, right? That's the difference, right?
Yeah, but if you evoke it, you can't block with it, of course, because you have to sacrifice it immediately.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I guess Delver's like, hey, your 1 green 3/4 flash reach beats my Delver all day. I guess we need something to beat that card.
The thing is, if you're not playing a Delver deck, then 70% of the decks that are left in the format are probably playing endurance or just don't care about being beaten down by a Delver anyway, because they are Upsal spells or something. At least that's how I understand it. Or because they're for example, this deck that we just talked about, which is probably just gonna be faster, so it's I'm not even gonna bother with endurance. Because the card is super influential right now.
Well, time to go buy some.
I will buy it for sure.
No, I haven't.
It's also one of those cards that's probably going to be good for a long time.
Place it. 1 in main deck in Maverick, 3 in sideboard. No need for further graveyard hate.
So moving on, the deck that I eventually arrived at was the Delver deck that actually cuts all Delvers and won the most recent Legacy Challenge, I think on this Sunday, in the hands of our Legacy Council dude, Arkan from the Czech Republic. And I tried to name the deck and I eventually gave up. I used to call it Blue-White Red Saga Dreadstill Monkey Action. What the fuck? This deck is Blue-White Red. The only creatures it plays, I guess the 4 Rogawans count as the core of the deck. Then you have 2 Murktide regions to finish them off in the late game. You also have the occasional True Name Nemesis. And then you also have 1 Phyrexian Dreadnought. And you play 4 Stifles, 4 Ponder, 4 Brainstorm, 4 Swords to Plowshares, 4 Days, 4 Forces. And then I realized, okay, why is this deck playing Phyrexian Dreadnought? It's cute that when you can sometimes get it off with Stifle, but you actually play 4 Urza Saga in this deck as well. This is greed, guys.
Greed is good.
So basically, Arkan took all busted cards from Modern Horizons, 4 Urza Saga, 4 Ragavan, and 2 Murktide Regents, and put them into one deck to have all of them.
Yeah, and he won the Legacy Challenge with it.
The deck looks sweet for sure. The only thing I really pity is that the start Ragavan into Standstill does not let you cast the exiled cards. But you, of course, still get the treasure token, so fair enough.
I pity the fool who touches my monkey. Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually quite excited about this deck because, like, usually the idea when one of the best things to do is to be, let's say, fast, then the next best thing to do, maybe the better thing actually to do, is to be slightly slower than that deck, but not significantly super slow, just to, like, get them. And this is actually what's happening here, right? You just, like, you cut the divers, you cut some more of what you could be doing with your early mana threats, maybe you just stifle them. But I'm just so excited to see the Urza Saga is actually doing a thing here. And you also got other targets. You got the Soul Guide Lantern, you got the Retrofitter Foundry. Not too hot on those, but then again, we're sitting on a Brainstorm deck, and I guess even the Lantern just replaces itself.
Plus, in the 3-color deck, don't miss the 3 prismatic endings in the sideboard. This card is really, really nuts.
This is actually really good, right? You're getting, like,
what card is that again?
That are much easier to cast.
Prismatic ending. It costs
remember that card, Matt.
1 white and X, and to exile target non-land permanent, so enchantments, artifacts, planeswalkers too, for the amount of different mana you spend with converge. Yes,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I think the original idea for a card like this is usually, like, you hit something equal to X. But they actually made it even better. They also count the white mana already. And I think when I read their notes that Sam Black posted, I think the original idea was to not count the white. So originally you would need to pay 2 mana to get rid of a Delver, but now you only need to pay the 1 mana. So for a lot of decks where you want early removal, it's just like, your additional copies of Swords to Plowshares. Exciting deck. Really exciting. Oh, and also we see Nyrod on the sideboard. We see Grim Lavamancer on the sideboard now. That's exciting.
Yeah, bringing it back.
What does it actually do for you in the metagame right now? Like, I guess you can shoot down the Divers. You can't hit the Dragon Raids Channeler. You're not gonna kill Murktide Regions.
You can kill Ragavan.
Ragavan is all that matters.
On, like, turn 2 or 3.
Yeah, in the worst case, you just block Ragavan and trade 1 for 1. No, but in late game you can, or in mid game, if you have, the list has 4 Swords of Plowshares, 2 Lightning Bolt. If he has spit out his removal and traded 1 for 1 and slams down the Lavamancer, he has another threat that can stop any further cast Ragavan. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
And of course, many other matchups where you need additional spot removal. I guess Elves shouldn't be too good for this deck. I mean, he has 6 spot removal, but in the whole deck, I only see in the sideboard 1 Grim Lavamancer and 1 Enchanted Explosives. Yeah, okay, the prismatic ending works too, but no, mass removal can be hard to beat Elves with that.
Yeah, I don't want to say Elves eats the deck alive, because, like, this is not how it works in Legacy, but I would feel pretty comfortable playing Elves. That's the thing about Elves right now, right? I think the deck isn't getting too much hate. Black is very not underplayed in the sense that it should be played more because it's good. It's just like, there's not much reason to play Black in the format right now, even though I started running in a couple more Plague Engineers. But right now, it's all about, like, blue-red, white, green-white, Bant, that kind of stuff. Like, almost all the color combinations issue, like Black, because nobody really wants to be in Black in Legacy right now. But maybe that's gonna come back, and then I'm not gonna be as happy as I am about Elves right now. This deck is something. I like when Arkan turns to his mad brewing mode. And here's another one, by the way. This is just like something I looked up a couple more 5.0 lists that were just released to basically round things out. And I know that Marius is not going to like this deck, but this is Rug Painter. And this is basically straightforward Rug midrange. It has like 3 Endurance, 2 Tarmogoyfs, 3 Oros, 4 Ponder, 2 Preordain, 4 Brainstorm, 4 Forces, 4 Lightning Bolt, 3 Force of Negation. Like, this is straight up Rug midrange. And then you have 4 Painter Servant.
Next level Thresh plus Painter Grindstone combo.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You have the Grindstone. And at that point I realized, okay, this is what's going on. Of course, you're playing 4 Urza Saga in the sideboard, in the main deck again. And those sagas are gonna find your Grindstone or your Soul Guide Lantern Retro. Dude, I can really like this Retrofitter Foundries and Soul Guide Lantern.
Well, on our Wednesday evening, I always play against Daniel's Infect, and Favourite Monkey is really the deal. The card is just awesome. Even better, of course, if you play 4 copies of Ornithopter with it and these Outcast Changelings. But if the card on its own can generate that much value or stress for your opponent, I really underestimated it a long, long time.
Okay, maybe I should revisit it. I wasn't too impressed with it, but maybe I just didn't end up in the right... Well, maybe I used it wrong. That could also be it. You like this deck, Marius? I know that you like Painter in the first place, right? But you're more like a mono-red Painter guy.
I just don't see the necessity to play Painter in this kind of deck here.
He's a purist.
Like, Euro is broken. What the fuck?
I mean, the deck contains mono good stuff cards. I like Endurance. I like Tarmogoyf. No, sorry, I don't like Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf is a shitty card for me. I like Endurance. I like Uro, Brainstorm, Force of Will, Lightning Bolts, all good cards. But I don't see the necessity to play Painter in this deck. Because without the Grindstone, Painter will do nothing here. Apart from being a super good blocker for Ragavan.
Yeah. I guess you have one Pyroblast main deck, but that's pretty much it. And you can pitch additional, different cards to your forces. But yeah, that's not why you run Painter. I think the reasoning actually comes from the other side. You want to run the 4 Urza Saga in this deck. And then at that point, you're like, what else can I do with that kind of effect? And then you're like, okay, I guess I can grab a Grindstone. And then if I already have my, yeah, I agree. But still then, I would much more prefer to go with 1 or 2 Dreadnoughts and for Stifle, especially since Stifles are awesome with Uro too. See, we're developing the deck
slowly but surely.
We're gonna cut all the good cards, Arkham.
I guess it was a donation for Arkham, and he just played it good, so the 5-0 worked. It's just a guess. Perhaps I'm totally wrong. But for me, a Painter deck has to look another way. But that's just my opinion.
We brought you a second deck.
It's a modern deck.
Is this a modern deck? I don't even know how to call it. This is like Colossus, Hammer, Master Race, whatever.
I like the hammer.
This deck swings a very big hammer.
Yeah.
This card it plays 4 Colossus Hammer, which is an artifact. How does it actually work? I don't actually. Let me look it up.
It's an extremely cheap artifact that gives +10/+10.
It costs 1,
and equipped creature loses flying. It costs just 1. The problem is that equipping costs 10 mana. So you literally
8
won't equip it. 8? Oh, okay, sorry. Then 8. But
bargain,
8 it's too much, of course, too. But with Sigada's 8 or the Pure Steel Paladin, it equips automatically on a creature you control. And then you just smash in with it. And that's basically a modern deck, with addition of Karakas, Ancient Tomb, Ancient Den. One of our guys has this deck really foiled out and plays it every Wednesday we play.
That looks pretty fun.
And how good is this in Modern? Is this actually doing something in Modern?
It's good versus decks who lack spot removal.
Maybe you can play like Squadron Hawk or something in that deck to just have a bunch of random dudes to carry the hammer.
No, there was just a moment. It does not. If the hammer is in play, it just equips once. Just a moment. Here it is.
Yeah, but the thing is, you get hammer Paladin.
Yes, but you need it too. What would work is, for example, a Flicker Wisp on the Colossus Hammer. So you cast the hammer, and it with Sigada's 8 it equips automatically on a creature you control. And if the creature dies, the hammer stays normally unattached on the battlefield forever. But if you flicker it in and out, you can attach it once more.
And that's because of Sigada's 8. We should actually mention what the card does. That's an enchantment.
One white mana, you may cast aura and equipment spells at 4-day head flash. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control.
And that's why Flicker Wisp actually works if you flicker the hammer. Otherwise, it would just like unattach or just like do nothing.
Correct.
I see. And then you play 3 copies of Steel Shaper's Gift, which is Enlightened Tutor for... Actually, why wouldn't you play Enlightened Tutor for this anyway? Oh, because it adds it to your hand. Sweet. So for 1 colorless at sorcery speed, you get to search your library for an equipment and just put it into your hand. You also, of course, you have 4 Stoneforge Mystics. You have 4 Ornithopter, which I guess... Oh, yeah. You see, we have an engine. We have Retrofitter Foundry, which is going to give us more tokens to equip the hammer to. And I would guess, yeah, of course, we also have 4 Urza Saga. This card is everywhere.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
And then there's the aforementioned 4 Pure Steel Paladins. And this one means whenever an equipment comes into play on your side, you actually draw a card. But also, once you have Metalcraft, you can equip stuff at 0 cost. So you can like move the hammer around as if it was like nothing.
Correct. So the way to fight this deck is to remove or counter the Pure Steels and to handle the Colossus hammers.
Actually,
I
wouldn't even do it. Like once
the
hammer's attached.
No, Nyrod or Stony Silence would not have it.
This is pretty sweet. I don't know. I remember that there was a Pure Steel Paladin where you played like a ton of 0 mana equipments and basically drew your entire deck, but I think that was more like a modern thing that people did. Or maybe even standard, I don't remember. But this is... Like, what are you gonna do? Like 10-10 and... Oh, but it doesn't get trampled.
Nope, it doesn't get trampled. But just imagine an Esper Sentinel carrying Colossus Hammer. So the opponent has to pay 11 mana for his first non-creature spell he casts.
I think people barely pay for the Esper Sentinel attacks. Like, they sometimes pay it when it's like 1 power, but as soon as it gets to 2, they just outright ignore it and try to kill it.
Yeah.
This is something. This one, by the way, was played by Southpaw 41 YS. Southpaw Ways. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. We're also going to link it in the show notes. It also plays 3 copies of Nettlecyst, one of the new Modern Horizon cards. That's basically
just a moment. What's Nettlecyst?
I was just going to mention that. It's one of the new Modern Horizon 2 cards. It's Living Weapon, and the creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantments that you control. It's kind of like an improved version of Cranial Plane.
Obviously, it's helps your win condition when you use Destiny Spinner to equip that, and then you just go extra big. I don't know.
Why can't this be an enchantment to play? Just 4 copies in enchantment for Big Bada Booms.
Is that what we call it? Is that the official term in German? Big Bada Boom? Oh, guys. Yeah, there's a lot of amazing stuff going on in Legacy. It's not only Ragavan and other bullshit, even though that's one of the best things you can do right now. But I think just the sheer fact that Endurance exists balances out a lot of the power that deck would have, because now the deck is forced into playing, weird stuff like Dismember or Splash Extra Colors and stuff, which in turn is gonna make it weaker against like a lot of other good things that are going on in the metagame right now. So I'm still excited. I've played more Magic Online than I have in quite a while lately, so that's usually like a good sign for me that things are going very well. What would you play right now? I'm actually wondering, because I already mentioned I wanna play Elves. I wanna play 2 or 3 copies of Runner Fowl in the sideboard, which is just absolutely amazing. It's not only good against most of the Delver decks right now, it gets rid of their Murktide Regent, which is such a big deal. There's a lot of Married Large floating around that you get to hit with that card. Because they have to sacrifice the creature, they also can't Sachery Step to protect it. It's all around. I'm feeling really happy with Elves. I'm also playing the 4, usually like 3 copies of Assassin's Trophy over Abrupt Decay, because there's really not much I wanna trade down on mana wise, but I'm happy to use that also on the Murktide Regions or break up Dark Depth combos or weird combos in the first place. Get rid of a Tabernacle. I don't know. Elves right now feels the most fluid it has ever been in what it is capable of. We still randomly kill people on the second turn, but I've also had super grindy games where we get there on the 17th turn by attacking with 2 Elfish Visionaries or something. So I'm very happy with where Elves is right now. Matt, after you've seen what's going on in the format right now, what would you register to a tournament next weekend?
I think I'd be trying out that green-white deck, the green-white depth deck. Because I'm a big fan of the Reliquary, have been for a long, long time. I really like Endurance. I don't know. I think this is a really interesting deck that I'd just love to smash people about the face with. So
you're not interested in the hammer?
I mean, the hammer is very interesting, but I think you can still swing a big knight, and it feels as good as swinging a big hammer. So
Imagine if you could do both.
Oof.
I went to Eldrazi. I put a better skull on like a 12/12 knight. You just tap it and the world crumbles. I can't.
Well, you don't tap it because the Batter Skull gives it vigil. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that's why you literally tap. Tap like with your finger. You just like you move to combat and you just tap. With
Yeah, I
your finger
usually just like turn it like halfway sideways and then turn
12.
it back. I'm like, okay, just so you know, this is what we're doing here. This is how you're dying.
Marius, what's going on with you? Like, assuming like Legacy tournaments come back, what's the most exciting deck for you to try now?
I would for sure have registered my Red Painter with 4 Blood Suns in the main deck, and with Urza Saga now, I would register this deck even more. It's really, in my opinion, really, really good. Handles nearly all in the format, especially with 4 Khans and mass of this. These of 4 Goblin Engineers and 3 Goblin Welder. You combo really often, and it just feels awesome. Especially since you don't cripple your own mana base with playing Blood Sun. You keep your 2 mana lands, and the deck is quite mana hungry with Khans and Painter Grindstone plus activation, cost 6. Yeah. And yeah.
And I know that you've never been a fan of what people call the strawberry shortcake, the white splash. And I guess with Goblin Engineer in the deck, you never felt like you want that extra tutoring, of course, at the cost of card disadvantage in the form of Enlightened Tutor. That's not something you want to do, right?
Not really. Especially if you consider, in some years ago, you always had some slots where you could put in this card or put in this card. But at the moment, I even only run 2 Imperial Recruiter, and when the deck came up, they always played 4 Recruiter because it was an additional painter. But now you just don't have the slots to play even the full playset of this card.
Yeah. Okay, so you're gonna give us the list. I'm gonna put it in the show notes, so definitely check it out. And I think with that, we are gonna call it a day. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for
my pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, you're supposed to be a host, Matt. It's your pleasure. Awesome, guys. So if you want to support the Everyday Channel, you can do that by leaving a review on iTunes. Just go there. If you want, leave us 5 stars so people can discover Legacy, people can discover our podcast, learn more about the format. But you can also just go to patreon.com/everydaychannel and become one of our Patreons. Get in there for as little as $1. Join the community. If you join on higher tiers, you can also get t-shirts. I think almost all of the t-shirts have been delivered now. And yeah, just like help us out keeping the lights on and running the show. Big thanks go out to all of our Patreons right now, but especially our Eternal Witness tier. Tommy Hinks, Trent Browers, Testicular, Sebastian Hollager, Guillaume, Jake, Tim Everett, and Severin Schwarzhuber. And on our Grizzlebrand tiers, whom I sent all the t-shirts to now, Victor Bernatz, Batu Butt, Scott Monroe, Jeremy Gates, Henrik Korkutz, Tom Hepp, Christopher Reinhardt, and Paragon Games in St. Louis. Thank you so much. I gotta jump into the shower now because it's incredibly hot in Germany. Matt, what's it like on Vancouver Island? I guess it's the same.
Oh, it's like 21 degrees. It's like pretty perfect. But are you gonna start selling your shower subscriptions? OnlyFans? Watch Julian afterwards after the cat.
No, I'm gonna sell Everyday Eternal host bathwater. That's all the craze right now.
Bottle it after.
I told that to the wife of my best friend. She has no idea what's going on in that kind of world, like the Twitch and Patreon, whatever world. And she looked at me for like forever. She was like, people buy that. And then after a while, she was like, I could do that. Oh man. Yeah, once you tell people how much money people actually make that way. But yeah. Thank you so much. If you want to follow us at EternalMTG, you can find me at itsjulian23 on Twitter. And I guess neither of you guys do social media, right?
Not anymore.
You still have an account, Matt, but I'm not gonna plug it. Marius, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and on WhatsApp.
I'm loving it, dude. You wanna plug your phone number?
You can also look me up in the phone book.
I'm quite a technical dinosaur, I have to say. And I hesitated to be on WhatsApp for years. But when the school I had to move to educate had an online platform called EduPage, I had to get a modern handy, modern mobile telephone. And then I said, okay, then why not WhatsApp too?
I remember when you actually got WhatsApp, you sent me a message. You're like, hey, I'm on WhatsApp. And I'm like, yeah, big deal.
You can send to the P.O. box of Everyday Eternal at...
Yeah, one day we're actually going to get one in the middle of nowhere. And like every 10 years, we're going to like go on a pilgrimage and actually check it out. And there's nothing.
Yeah, nobody checks it. The mails just overflowing.
Awesome. So everybody, have a great week. I hope you're having a good time, and see you again next time for Everyday Eternal. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.